Hi there. How y'all doing this afternoon? Good afternoon to you. It's a happy Wednesday afternoon. And I'm hoping that all of you are doing just fine as I am doing. First of all, we're thankful that we're alive and we're well so that we can share with you on this Wednesday, same day, different things. Same things, different day. And this is what we've recognized that it has become a pattern whenever the PPP is there in government. And we have got to change this because we cannot continue to have the same things happening on different days. And the things that are happening, they are not positive things. They are not issues or policies or provisions that are put in place that will assist our people or would make the lives of our people better. And so we've got to change it. We don't want the same things to be happening on different days. We don't want police brutality, same thing on a different day. We don't want the government bullying citizens across this country, same things on a different day. We've got to change this. And as a one people, one nation with one destiny, we've got to make things right. Guyana belongs to us. And it means, therefore, that together we will have to ensure that the wealth of this country is shared equally. Whatever patronage we get from the wealth of this country, it is shared amongst all of us equally across the regions. This afternoon, joining me this afternoon, I have two pretty young ladies who are going to be joining me this afternoon as we explore a little more on same things, different days. We have joining us MP Nimuflu Bess, we have Central Exec member Robin Simon, and we have a young man who's going to be joining us sometime soon. But while we're here with the young ladies or with the roses, let me say that, we're going to talk a little more about what's happening on same things, different day. Nima and Robin, good afternoon to you, and it's always a privilege to have you here with us. What's happening at your end?
Good afternoon, sis. Um, I am on my way basically from court. I would have attended court today. So forgive me, viewers. Um, Miss McDonald, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here with you once again. Hello to my sister Nemo. But on my end here, I'm now heading back up to Aslington. The mother for Otis Jordan yesterday was taken to the hospital because there was a protest and she poured her heart out and the
Oh,
pressure
wow.
went up. So it is a bit sad and tense here in the community.
I
The
could
young man
imagine.
that was also beaten the night before and was hospitalized, I had an opportunity to speak with him um, yesterday. And thanks be to God, he was doing a little better at the time, onto the time I left Enmore Hospital. So we have a lot going on, a lot to handle here on the East Coast.
I,
And
I I could imagine. I could just imagine. But Robin,
it's
I
too
heard
much.
you saying you just came from court. Is it that you went there to support someone?
No, sis. The issue with Quindon Bacchus is still ongoing. We are still in court for that matter. And it was just shifted to another date. And that's what it is. We were there for the Quindon Bacchus issue. Thank you, my dear.
Well,
It's
Robin, maybe you're going to have to tell us about Quinlan Bacchus because I'm sure some of our viewers don't. When you talk about Quinlan Bacchus, they don't know what you're talking about. So let's talk a little about
okay.
Quinlan Bacchus before we get right
No
into it.
problem. Let me put it in a nutshell. June 10th of 2022, a young man was gunned down in Haslington housing scheme. And a protest was started on the 12th of June for this same young man in Golden Grove Village. And that protest ended up for 40 days, 40 nights. The police came
Mm.
out with three different statements regarding this one story. A young man was given to us by the name of Christophe de Nobrega. He later walked free because of lack of evidence.
Wow.
In that case, we put cat to watch milk. Um, he walked free. No justice was served for Quindon. He was shot 7 times about the body, 6 bullets spread out around the back and one to the chest. There was a witness who saw the final shot. She testified throughout, and then eventually she traveled because what she said is that her life was being threatened. So the
Oh,
case was thrown out against this young man. One time they said that he went to this said area in the scheme to sell a gun to an officer. The next time um he showed the gun. It's all complicated. It's different stories. But we were charged with act of terrorism, 11 of us. We were charged with act of terrorism since 2023, and we are still before the courts for that matter. So the matter was dismissed against
mm,
Christophe de Nobrega. Quindon has no justice, but we are still in court for protesting. Mind you, we had nothing to do with what took place at Monrepo. We were all at Golden Grove, but we were charged for terrorism based on what took place at Monrepo and Golden Grove. So that is it in a nutshell, basically.
and so this fits right into our caption. Same things, different days. So
Yeah,
many young men are losing their lives.
no
Um,
justice.
Execution style, police brutality, and the same things are happening. Oh, when witnesses are testifying, then their lives are threatened because there is no protection there for them, and so witnesses pull in a shell, they skip the country, and then everything is left just like that. Or you find um, some witnesses are being paid huge sums of monies not to go to court any longer to testify, and so lives just slip away, just like that. Mothers lose their sons, fathers lose their sons, children lose their fathers, wives lose their husband, and this is what we're having happening
And the
over and
homes are
over.
broken.
Same things, different view.
Differently.
Homes are broken. We already have lots and lots of social issues in our
Yeah.
societies. In our society, we have lots of our children who are ill mannered, let me put it in that way, simply because homes are broken. There's an absent father. The father is dead. And so the boys are left, the girls are left, mommy can't take care of them. And society as a whole have become so selfish that we don't look out any longer for our neighbor's child or our neighbor's children. And so chaos in the society. Nima, this is Robin saying that she just came from court because she has been charged with act of terrorism, and so from 2023, and this is 2026, she's still going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And but we've seen other instances where persons have had all kinds of charges laid against them, and then you see them pop up in court once, and then you don't hear anything else after that. And is it a direct plan to silence one group of people and to allow another group to go free? Nima, share with us.
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks for being here with my comrades. It's really good when we can come together and speak on issues. Even as Robin spoke just now about the Quindon Bacchus story, a lot crossed my mind. And Robin, they're in court being charged for acts of terrorism. And the question crossed my mind. What is going on with Soraya Bourne issue with the gas station blowing up? What's happening with that case?
Well,
Um,
we just saw
have
the young Venezuelan guy who decided he was going to take the blame. He said it was his fault, so he did the act himself. Nobody else was there. So we're waiting to see what will happen there.
we're waiting to see what happens there. And so when you look at these people are still being taken before the court, and of course, they're going to be going from one day to the
Nima,
next
we've lost you.
to the end. You lost me there?
Yes, we lost you for a minute, but that's fine.
Okay, yes. Um, there's so much questions to be answered. Um, People have to stand up and speak out for their rights. And you're taking them before the court for standing up and speak out against injustices and all these things that are happening in our country. And I see it as a form of interrogation and trying to deter people from actually standing up for their rights. What I would
Mhm,
say to Guyanese, do not
mhm,
lose hope. You have to stand up for your right, because if you lie down and allow the PPPC government to continue the way they are operating, we will have many more cases in front of the court and you will get no justice. So we have to stand firm, just like our comrade Robin and others continue to stand. Every time something happens, we have to be aware, we have to speak up, we have to keep calling for justice. And I pray that one day our people will truly wake up, get an awakening to know the importance of standing up for justice and what is right for the people of Guyana.
So,
So when
so
you look at that, it's really hard, disheartening to know that they're still going through um, the courts and having to go through all this long process as we wait. And we know that there are other cases that really needs to be attended to, but nothing is being done.
hmm So, as we go through this afternoon's activity, I'm remembering so many. We had so many cases of police brutality, execution style, and again the same things on different days. But let's talk about Robin. Let's talk about Otis Jordan. We saw reports of the post-mortem, and we're hearing that he died from an ulcer, perforated stomach, something. I don't have all the medical terms, but I am wondering. I saw that young man being arrested. I saw the video of that young man being arrested. Healthy young man. Of course, we can't see what's happening inside, but healthy young man. And we're hearing the cries that this young man never had to. He never complained of feeling unwell. Um, Except for minor things, you get a headache here or a little backache there. But there was no kind of issue where this young man complained of not feeling unwell. But we saw this report coming from the pathologist. We've also heard reports and we've seen videos and photographs, several of them, where there are marks of violence on his back, um, which is indicating that he might have been hit there, stamped there. Tell us something about how you feel about what has happened there.
The pathologist um, said what he saw. Thank God we had Karen Cummins there, credible. We had Dr. Todd there. So the pathologist said what he saw. When the body was open, it was examined. He saw that there was a perforated ulcer. In layman's term, a sore that is burst. Everything from within the stomach poured out into the body. Right?
Wow.
Now, we know.
Just hold, Robin. We want you to say this very, very slow so that persons understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
Just go that over for us again.
When they opened him, they noticed that everything that was in his stomach was spread about the body. That's internally.
So
It came
so then
from
so
the
then
ulcer that
hold-
burst.
so then we're saying it seems as if there was a bag and something happened and the bag
It popped.
burst,
Exactly.
or there was a balloon and
Exactly.
somebody probably you know
Exactly. Exactly. Now, my thing is, Otis would have never complained, according to the mother. She never had to take him to the doctor. Now, those of us who would have experienced or is going through or was diagnosed with ulcerated stomach, It simply means sores about the lining of the walls of the on the lining of the walls of the stomach. It
Mhm.
is painful. You suffer from indigestion, nauseated feelings, um, acid reflux. The mother of this young man is claiming that her son never one day told her anything regarding a pain in the stomach. We all saw that he was arrested. We do not know what was happening internally, point taken, but it
Mhm.
does not mean that something did not happen. Because one thing we all know, a hard impact, trauma can also cause an ulcer to pop. Let's say this was ongoing with him and it was just waiting for a time to pop. Let's say this was something he was experiencing all the time and it was just waiting for a time. And it's funny that he was arrested on Friday and that by Tuesday morning, taken to the hospital between the hours of 1, 2 o'clock, dead.
So am I understanding that, first of all, was there any record of Otis going to the doctor for this stomach ulcer, and any medication given to him? Was there?
None that we know of. None that we know of and none that the mother knows of.
I'm not professing here to be a medical doctor, but I'm just trying to use layman's terms and common sense to go to take us through this process so our viewers understand. So he never had to go to the doctor, complain about stomach pain or feeling bad or anything, or being treated by a doctor for this issue. Let us assume then that this issue was there, this illness was there. The question that is being asked now is, what would have caused it to pop? Let me use that, to pop just like that. That's the question we want to have answered.
Mm.
Something had to cause this popping. Something had
When
to open up.
when he was arrested, he said right there and then the brother gave a statement. He said right there and then that he was hit, somebody hit him, an officer hit him. The brother gave a statement, seeing when an officer, whoever the officer is, that hit the brother. Right? But we also have to look at the fact that there was bleeding in the brain. Nobody's talking about the bleeding in the brain.
Wow.
Nobody is talking about the bleeding in the brain. Two separate, two separate complaints, two separate observation. Sorry, the stomach, and there was also bleeding in the brain. Nobody is talking about that.
But
He
then,
did not vomit in the house. According to what we gather, there was no vomiting in the police station. He was not, listen, I am not a medical doctor. I have some idea because I've been in the medical field for some time. And certain things I would have experienced, especially working in the ICU, critical ICU
mm,
unit. I have my sister
mm,
who would have worked emergency unit. I have some knowledge of this whole medical thing. Now, if Otis was suffering from this perforated ulcer, let's say it started, let's say it burst and it had a small hole, and let's go with the fact that it had a small hole and it was draining. Let's go that low. I am telling you today, and I'm putting it to everyone today. He would have been in so much pain. Otis passed here Saturday. His first trip to the Enmore Regional Hospital, according to them. His first trip to the Enmore Regional Hospital. And he hailed out to the young men who were sitting right next door to me at my cousin's residence at her shop. He hailed out to them. That is how everybody know when he passed. He could not have done that. And this was Saturday afternoon. He could not have done that because that pain, this is acid fluids from within your stomach pouring out into the other parts of your
mhm, mhm, mhm. So that's Robin there. She seemed to be having some issues with her internet, and this is what happens when we come on these lives. Then you have all kinds of interruptions. But again, we are trying to let you understand that this young man was taken into custody, no complaints of anything, but we're just going to hold on to the fact now that yes, maybe something happened. Um, MP Flu, are you hearing us?
Yes, I'm
Yes,
hearing you.
Good. So Robin, you continue. I thought we lost you for a while.
I'm saying when he passed here to go to the hospital because they said they were taking him to the hospital or whatever, wherever, he ailed out to the young men that he would normally hang out with right next door to me, my cousin's shop. He hailed out to them. Nobody that is in pain with a ulcer like this can be sought. No, something went wrong, and I honestly feel somebody is not speaking the truth.
So you're saying
Somebody
to
is
us,
not speaking the truth.
so Robin, you were saying to us that the police vehicle was transporting him on Saturday. That's what you're saying?
Yes, yes,
And so he shouted to the guys that he would
yes,
normally find there.
yes,
So if you and it's a good thing he did that, because people are now able to say he was alive and well on
yes,
Saturday. Now
yes.
we're not sure where they took him on Saturday when they took him out there. We're not sure where they took him. I'm hoping that the hospital would be able to produce the records to say, yes, this patient came here on Saturday. He was treated, he was seen by X doctor and treated, medication was prescribed, and he left. He
I can
came as a,
answer that as well.
go right ahead.
I can answer that as well. When Otis passed here, the young men next door to me, and the mother had a barbecue the same day at the road front. She came out, all right? When they were coming back, she saw the vehicle because she was told that he was in this blue police pickup. This woman, Amanda Payne, stopped the police. She stopped the vehicle. She saw her son. She spoke with them. She asked the officer where they went with he. Where y'all went with he? The officer said they had to take him to the hospital. She said why? He said to the mother that how he was he has food poisoning. So she said, who give me something to eat? He said that they give him something to eat. But he was okay when she saw him Saturday. Then there was a second trip to the hospital. All
Hmm.
right. Added to all of this that I'm saying to you, when we left the postmortem, the very first day when the postmortem was supposed to be done, the pathologist himself said he rejected the whole thing. He was not doing the postmortem because certain records from the hospital was not there. He wanted to know who saw this young man. What did he take? What was wrong with him? So no records was sent to or given to the pathologist. We left there. Myself, Otis' sister, Otis' two brothers. We left there and we went straight to the Enmore Hospital. Straight there. Only to find out, according to the doctor, the first doctor we had a conversation, sorry, with, told us that Otis came and he did not see anyone. There is no records of Otis seeing a doctor at the Enmore Hospital. They cannot find it in the system. There is no chart. There is nothing prepared for him. Nothing. The only thing they know of him is that they received him dead, cold, stiff, Tuesday morning. We spoke with a second doctor who
No, no, no,
also
no,
gave us the same thing.
no, 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 no. We something seems to not be right here. Something is not right. If he went to the doctor on Saturday,
Hmm.
Enmore Regional Hospital is one of the hospitals that have been recently built and commissioned. So we can't say that the computers are malfunctioning because these are new computers that were installed, new staff there. So if this young man was there, then there must have been some record. The police must tell us where they took Otis on Saturday. And I'm saying this because, and Nima, you would remember this too, because we would have
Mhm.
had several reports over the years that prisoners were taken out of police station. They were taken out of the
Mhm.
lockup, removed from the police station, taken to several parts where they would carry them to different areas, beat them, and then have them returned to the police station. We've had those kinds of reports. And so now that you're telling us that Otis never went to the Enmore Regional Hospital, the police must tell us where they took Otis on Saturday. And if it's a police matter, then you can't take him to a private doctor. He must be seen at the public hospital, Enmore Regional Hospital. It is alleged that he was taken there. Where was Otis on Saturday between X time and Y time? Who gave the authority for them to remove Otis from the police lockups at Kobe
Exactly.
John to take him out? And when he returned there, what was documented in that what they call the book? I can't remember the exact name of the book, but what documentation, what was written there to say patient Otis Jordan was taken out of the lockups at X time by corporal somebody or constable somebody, accompanied by a sergeant or a corporal. He complained of ABC. He was returned at X time. This was what. Where is that document? We want to see that document. That document must be produced. If we can't produce that document, then it gives us the liberty to say the police murdered this young man. Straight as that.
Added to that
Most
too, my
definitely.
sister. Added to that, I notice. Listen, this whole thing is not adding up. It is not adding up. You cannot in no way arrest somebody on Friday, dead Tuesday, and we don't have no records. The second doctor we spoke with also gave us the same story. We asked about the image, the footage from the hospital. We couldn't get the footage because we have to write a letter to the Ministry of Health through this body and that body. So the lawyers will deal with that. The
Mhm.
lawyers will deal with that. But Otis' mother was told that he got food poison and they had to take him to the doctor. She saw her son. They had all the time in the world, which is Sunday and Monday. She took breakfast and food or whatever on Sunday. The brother turned up at the station on Monday to bail him. They had all the time in the world to let this family know that this young man was not feeling well. They
Exactly.
had all the time in the world to reach out to the family. Haslington is a small village, and everybody knows Haslington. The police officers know, listen, it's just a drive in, drive out. They had all the time in the world. The brother was at the station with his father. The brother and the brother's father was at the station Monday. It was already 72 hours. He already spent more than 72 hours there. He turned up to bail his brother. Nobody said anything to him, only to tell him that they're going to court Tuesday. Mother preparing to court for court, only to find out that this young man is dead and he's in is from the lockups to the freezer. From the lockups to the hospital put his body in the freezer because there was nothing those doctors there could have done. He was already cold dead. They cannot tell you exactly when this young man died at that lockups there.
mm, mm, mm.
So you're arresting people, you're taking them into custody. I know this, but must be some farms and some handing over, taking over process where you check on these prisoners and all of these things. There
Mhm,
must be something in there.
mhm, mhm,
There
mhm.
must be something in there. And for you to
MP,
just come and tell us that this young man dead, and then you all want us to accept that he died of natural cause. What about the bleeding in the brain?
MP Nemo, just throw your bit in here because I'm sure as a mother, your tummy is tumbling. The mats, like the young boys would say and the girls, the mats in. And we will not accept this. We will not accept this. And if it means that we have to walk from Georgetown to Haslington and from Haslington to Georgetown, because I'm seeing the Minister of Home Affairs saying there was a postmortem report and the police did not do anything and and all kinds of I'm reading in the news. MP Nima, you're a bit on this.
I'm sitting here listening, and I could tell you the truth, my skin is I'm going through a lot of range of emotions as a mother, because I'm thinking a mother saw her child alive on Saturday, spoke to her child. They visited the station to deliver meals. Nothing was said to them. And then you tell me turn up for court on Tuesday. But instead of turn up for court on Tuesday, you turn up for corpse on Tuesday. And nobody got answers to give the family. I support the family seeking justice.
I
And
mean,
gang, these people have to wake up. I'm noticing some people in the comment section saying a lot of things. It's not, this thing is not just about one family fighting. It is the same thing we witnessing at a different day.
over and over and over.
You think about all the things that happen to our young men in police custody, repeated actions. I'm a mother with 3 sons, and I don't even want my sons on the streets, because I always say to myself, anybody do my child anything, they ain't gonna laugh for it. And I'm very serious about that. I say it repeatedly. And I could imagine what is going through that mother mind. No wonder she pressure gotta go up. You care your child, provide for your child, see your child grow up to the man, waiting to become a father.
Mm, mm, mm,
And on
mm.
the day he died, his child is born. Instead of that mother being able to celebrate her first grand from that child, she can't celebrate how she should celebrate. And that is not, no one
She
should
has to bury.
experience
She has
that
to bury. She's
at
burying
no
her son.
point.
She is burying her
Because the
son rather
police
than celebrating.
is supposed to provide protection for people. When you see police or you hear the word police, you
Mm-mm.
should think about protection. But when you see hear the word police or
You
you
Nothing
gotta
see
run.
happening.
police, you gotta run or you gotta be studying if
Mm,
these people are really police. I got issues with that. Serious concerns and issues about that.
mhm,
And I've
mhm.
said it repeatedly. The police, according to the laws of Guyana, is supposed to provide protection for people, not beat up people and kill people and all these kinds of things. We are supposed to be protected. So if something should happen and somebody wants to run to the station, they must be confident enough to run to the station to get assistance. But you can't have that confidence when
Not,
you're looking and again witnessing a
not at
mother holding
all.
her womb. She got to
Not.
be crying her soul out
Mm-mm.
because there is no justice. And then you see the minister come out to say about the postmortem report. I wonder where the ministers be when you have officers abusing people on the road. Up to this morning, I
Mhm,
stopped my and I
mhm.
was looking the way in which a police officer was talking to a young man. I don't know what it was, but you know what caught my attention? You know, when you got a big stick and you walk up to people, that is what caught my attention. And then subsequently, I read in the media what the minister was talking about. Again, I'm going to call this afternoon on the police. Police, men and women, you have families, you have children, you have nieces and nephews, you have your parents. Would you like the same actions that you're meting out to people be meted out to you? Would you like to see your child turn up dead somewhere when it could be avoided? I always say, and I keep saying it, the worst tragedy men could face is a man-made tragedy. We could deal with natural disaster, but when there are things that could be avoided by the
Mm-hmm.
act of men, and they're not doing it but causing you more harm, it is playing with people's mental health and people's psyche. Because I am so worried for that mother because she spoke to her child alive on Saturday. She visited the station on Sunday. She visited on Monday. Not like she abandoned her child in the lockups. She visited. But somebody was dishonest. Somebody didn't say the truth. And so the family is now left with a dead and a young baby that will grow up without a father. We have to
You
do
know,
better.
as you speak, I'm thinking here. What has happened to the human side of the police? What has happened? You see several videos across social media when where police are harassing citizens. They pull up to your car, not even a good morning, not even a good afternoon. Let me have your document. Oh, pull in the corner. Oh, and then they go on to assault young men, push them into the police vehicle, stamp them. When you look at those pictures of Otis, you're seeing as if somebody was pushed into a wall, they were stamped, they were hit across the back. It is disgusting, and we've got to stop this. The motto of the police is to protect and serve, not to kill, not to brutalize, not to hide evidence, but it is for you to be able to carry out your mandate in such a way that citizens of this country will feel free, they will feel comfortable going to you to assist in solving crimes and to assist you with being able to eradicate some of what we have in our society. But when you carry through with this kind of mandate, brutalizing people's children are young men and women are losing their lives, then we can't no longer trust some of those rogue police officers. And as we speak, I'm remembering Ronald Waddle. To date, nobody can say who killed Ronald Waddle to date. And it's, well, I shouldn't say nobody could say it. People know, but they're not coming out to say anything. We're going to have another Good Friday, and Monica Reese's killer is still walking out there. You know how many years ago that was? You know how many years ago that was? And we're still there's nothing. Nobody has been charged for that murder. We have the Henry boys still waiting. Harish Singh, we're still waiting, and those are some recent ones. Shaka Blair from Buxton, who was shot by police. Not a boy or a girl went to prison. Hmm?
Nope.
You know,
And those in Linden.
the
Yeah.
boys in Linden, the three in Linden, the three minorities, and
Progeny.
then the two after that. We're still waiting. We had or in Boston, in on the Essequibo coast. I mean, when will these things end? And then when you have ministers coming out there to give all kinds of statements, you want to know who raised them.
And
Who
this is the
raised
thing,
them?
my sister, and I'm going to say this. I did not read the full statement given by Minister of Home Affairs. I wouldn't grace myself, but the thing is, she was not there. You're going to take some words based on information. Until now, we're still waiting. I want her. I am asking her to bring the mother in and show the mother the image. Show the mother these videos that she's claiming, according to which evidence. I want her to bring the mother in and show the mother them. I want her to bring this mother in, call her, invite her into your office, and you show the mother all these video evidence and all these evidence that you have to clearly to close this case. Because mind you, when you see government ministers make statements, in my opinion and how I feel, is that there is nothing else to be done with this case, and it
That
is
is so,
unacceptable.
mhm,
It is
that is so true.
unacceptable because somebody just can't lose their life just like that in a place that they're supposed to be protected. You're supposed to be safe. I
And the,
want her to invite the family. I want her to leave our office and come to Haslington and sit with the family and come with the evidence.
and you see, this is where the different comes in. Same day, different, same things, different days. When they shouted in Monterey Post that the protesters harassed them, they destroyed their livelihood, break their stalls, knock down the Polari stand, do this, do that. The president himself went there. But today, an
Nobody don't
Afro-Guyanese
come to these
mother
areas.
is crying, but the Minister of Home Affairs can't go there. The
No,
Commissioner of Police can't go there. The Deputy
listen,
Commissioner of Police can't go there. None of them can go there. And then they want to tell us about one Guyana. How is it? Can we preach
MP
one
McDonald
Guyana?
and MP Flubes, let me just remind you all something you all didn't know. Those vendors from Monrepo Market, they were invited, according to what they say. They said they were invited to the president's residence. They were invited to the president's residence. Is it because they are East Indians that don't like to go the race route? But is it because they're East Indians? None of them didn't come. They sent the prime minister who came the day when we had service, the service under the tree in Golden Grove, and he made a set of promises and never ever returned to Golden Grove. No minister of human services came. No, watch. Listen. This is the thing that wiles me up, and when I get wild, I get loose. And I don't want to get very loose on your program because you know what, sis? This is unfair. You're gonna come out today with a statement. You coming out with a statement, and nobody said anything to the family as yet. We
Mhm.
met with the commander, and I would leave Dr. Todd to deal with the issues of the commander because we met with the commander. And these things that she's coming out with don't add up. It's nowhere close to what we heard from the commander. But I will leave Dr. Tut to deal with that. But I am asking her, as a mother, if she has kids, if she has
Mhm.
siblings, if her own mother is still alive. I am asking her to bring this family, invite this family to our office and show the family all the video evidence because nobody is talking about the bleeding in the brain. That's number one. Number two, and not because they want to say no marks of violence, and now the mark on his body was all mark. No problem. But that does not mean that he was not hit. Let's look at the young man who overtook the police in front of my home right here in Aslington and went to the station. They took him in. He started to record. They tased him on his legs for him to delete the video from
Mhm.
his phone.
That's
So
another
if
one.
this can happen to this young man there for something simple as this, when the police has no tolerance, according to what Commander Stephen told me, that the police does not have any, none. They don't have no remorse. They man got no, they're not taking domestic violence case easily. That could mean anything when they say they're not taking it easily.
Hmm.
That could mean
So
anything.
so this reminds me of that little young boy, 16-year-old boy from New Amsterdam. Do you remember him? Who was burnt around his genitals by a policeman? Do you
Yes,
remember
Yes,
that?
I remember the
Do
yes,
you
story.
remember?
Mhm.
And so
yes.
it brings into play the kind of training that these young police officers and maybe some older ones, it brings into play the kind of training they are receiving when they go to the police training school. And, and, and then it also brings into play whether any kind of background checks are being done on some of these folks when they join the police force. I know years ago you used to have that. You apply for a job, regardless of what job is it, and background checks are done. Background checks are done. I don't know what is happening now because it is, you simply cannot imagine and fathom where is this cruelty coming from? Why are police officers, some of them, so intolerant? Why are police officers so cruel? Why are police officers, some police officers feel that they can do whatever they want to do, and then the law, maybe they have a connection somewhere that is going to save them.
That's
And
how the system turn.
Robin, you said something. The police commander is saying one thing, but the Minister for Home Affairs is saying something else. And I would have wanted I would have thought that the police commander and the Minister of Home Affairs, both of them would have been singing from the same hymn book.
Mm-mm.
Before we go on, let me welcome our other guest. It's good to have you here with us, and we're always delighted when we have the opposite with us. You see, we don't always, we want to go by what God says. He created man and he created woman. And so we're always delighted when we have our male brothers here with us. Welcome to Same Things, Different Days. And we're going to take a quick comment from you before we're discussing here the death of this young man in police custody. We're also talking about a young man who was beaten by the police. We saw that video of him lying on a bed there in the hospital. We also saw the another video with a young man who was harassed by police. He was shot with a taser gun because he was recording what was transpiring there. So we'll take a quick word from you and then we'll continue in our discussion.
First of all, MP McDonald is, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for inviting me. What a panel of strong, astute, intelligent, intellectual women that I get to, partake of in this discussion. So I'm very happy, first of all, to be here. To the listening viewers, and it's good to be here. I'm happy. Look, on the topics that the topic that right now that you guys are speaking on, it is quite interesting. And what I see a trend of dereliction of duty. I see that the our police officers, especially at the lower levels, they are not well trained. They don't have command of the standing orders, right? And we're seeing this display in the way that they're treating the citizens who essentially are their clients. They have to remember, without these citizens, they don't have a job. And besides that, these are the people who their tax money, they're taxed every time they get paid. That covers your firearm, your baton, whatever it is that you have, your uniform, your salary to some extent, and to treat them that way, it's so uncivilized what I see. But another thing I must point out, why is it always seems to be trending when these things happen? The trend is it's associated with an African Guyanese. That is quite concerning, very, very concerning because look, when we talk about domestic issues, I have seen so many domestic issues across Facebook. I've seen domestic issues where men of East Indian descent, they come home drunk and they're beating their wives and they're doing all kind of things to them, right? And the police intervene, but we don't see these results that we're seeing here. These results are glaring. We have one young man who is laying in a fridge cold there by himself. Child would have born. He never got to see the child. The child, well, a young child like that, even if the child can see, wouldn't understand that that was his father he was looking at. So we got to put it as the child will not see the father, right? And then there's another young man laying in the hospital, semi-conscious, that was beaten by the Guyana police force. And when I see these things, the government seems to be very mum and silent on these issues. But, MPs and Sister Robin, when you look at this thing, right, we have a dictatorship government in Guyana right now. There's no doubt about that. Okay, but to take the pressure off of themselves when these issues happen, they
Mm-hmm.
don't
Mm-hmm.
address them. So therefore we turn away from what they're doing and we are focused on these issues because these issues are directly affecting the people. So if something is directly affecting the people, not saying what the PPP is doing is not directly affecting the people, but what would have happened with these families here of late is an emergency for you guys and us in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, Wayne, we want to thank you. This is Comrade Wayne Caesar. We want to thank you for taking time off and being here with us on same things, different days. But we've got to move off from this because we've spent quite a while talking about this. But I want our Guyanese people to understand, our citizens to understand, those who are at home and those who are in the diaspora. This thing got to stop. That's what I want you to understand. As simple as that. It got to stop. And unless we see senior officers being sanctioned, being placed before the courts, junior ranks being sanctioned and placed before the courts and have to suffer the consequences, this will not end. And if it gets to the stage where we have to sit on the streets every day, whole day, we exchange places, we go home, some others come. If it gets to that stage, then we will have to do it because the same nonsense cannot continue to happen on different days. Too many mothers are shedding tears. Today is Otis Jordan's mother. Tomorrow, whose mother will it be? It could very well be me tomorrow morning. The next day, it could be Nima Flubes. The next day, it could be Robin Simon. We've got to put a stopping to it. And Guyanese, you got to stop getting emotional and stop thinking about party politics and which government you're affiliated to and which party you're affiliated to. Because when lives are lost, there is nothing like party that is written there. A life is precious. That young man probably had so much to give, whether in an office or whether in the field. And you know what? He was cut short at the hands of the Guyana Police Force. His life was cut short. And we have to say at the hands of the Guyana Police Force, because that's where he died, in the custody of the police, and the police can't tell us anything. But we're gonna get more of that as we continue. And so we would want to again extend our sincerest condolences to the mother and the other the siblings and other relatives of Otis Jordan, more especially his baby's mother. Um, so those families who are struggling right now with the young man who was beaten, we have not heard any statement there as yet, but we're waiting to hear what the police will say. But we've got to move on. We've got to move on. And so we're talking here about we did talk about this thing seemed to be a pattern with Afro Guyanese. And we're not going to allow persons to tell us that we're being racist. When you look at the majority of citizens who police brutalize, they're Afro Guyanese. But some people, we see them brutalizing police and they walk the streets the next day. But that's because of it. When you got to be connected, but connected, those are wrong connections. But we're going to talk about, we've seen accidents as if it's a new medicine. All over this country, lives are being lost because people are being reckless on the roads. Even police officers are being reckless on the road. What do we say? I noticed the Minister of Home Affairs is taking up a lot of her time talking about tint on windscreen and tint here and 6-inch visor and all kinds of things. When we have even more serious issues that the minister should be talking about. And what we see here too is a disconnect between the ministries. Now, the issue of domestic violence, police, education, social protection, youth and sports, whoever else we want to pull in, but those are the four main ministries. But we're not hearing anything from them. We're not hearing about plans that you have to curb domestic violence, to talk about accidents, how you must drive down the road. We're not seeing those things any longer. And anyone could follow up on that.
Um, Let me follow up a little on that. I'm reading the comment. I see somebody said she's now Minister of Tint. Um, Not only those ministries, they also need to look at the Ministry of Infrastructure and the roads they are constructing. because we know that we have young drivers, especially who would drive really carefree and reckless. And many times on the roadway, I can speak for Heroes Highway in certain parts on the East Bank. You would drive today, for this entire week, you drive in this section, but suddenly the next week is a hole. You recognize that you might pass there, it's pass smoothly, but when you pass back a week or so after, you're going into a valley and come up, this sudden jump. So also they have to pay attention to the road construction and what is actually happening, because that also can play a part in the accidents that we see. But we want to call on drivers today. You have to be conscious of using your 5 C's while driving, and it's not dashing, dash out, take over, bully, pushing here. And so I think that's what we see a lot on the road in the afternoons when you travel to come up. There's
Mhm,
a line that you stay in.
mhm,
If everybody move in that line, we'll get home faster. But there are those drivers who would choose to create other lanes and other confusion. And so we're having all these challenges on the roadways. And again, we would want to see more being done to educate our drivers. I thought by now, every day I drive on these bank, I row because they got these big bulletin, big boards, billboards. But there's nothing there talking about driving safety. You see some
mhm,
program that finished 6 months ago, a year ago, the
mhm,
billboard is still up there,
mhm,
occupying space. And I want
mhm,
to challenge again the police force to start a public education, use those same billboards and so that they got up and put out things to remind drivers of the importance of driving safely on the roadways, put up a little ads, little videos, you have those TV that you put out ads to promote businesses. I want to see that being used to remind and educate persons on the use of the roadways. And one of the other things I observed, these foreigners that are given license to drive on our roads, I don't think a lot of them go through the process of understanding our laws. I'll give you a typical example. A few mornings ago, just about a week ago or so, I was at Camp Street. The police was directing the traffic. He stopped one side of the road and was calling the other side. Two Cubans or so, Spanish people came on a motorbike. And all the police stopped the traffic. The people just sucked the teeth and dashed down the road that they were not supposed to turn. And I could have ended up knocking them straight off the bike if I wasn't paying attention to them on the road. Why is the police calling me? I observed the two foreigners going to do their own thing. And also, I would have seen, y'all ever see others ride electric bike?
mhm, mhm,
Sometimes the mother, father, and put up the bike, baby, and everything. And they're riding on the road. They're not conscious of where they are on the road. And sometimes they hinder the flow of traffic. So again, I want to call on the Guyana police force and those licenses you are just issuing Wild West to the foreigners. Like I was at GRA this morning, I listened to some foreigners who can't even speak English getting license. Do these people have to go through any form of training? I'm quite sure in developed country, you can't just go and pick up a license at an office and drive just like that. I don't know if Wayne could validate that for me, but you got to go through a process before you actually get just, you gotta know the people road
mhm.
information,
You
how
have
they drive on the road, how they use the road before you actually obtain a license to drive. You have to tell me because I know much about foreign
You
life.
you are
So
absolutely correct.
yeah.
You cannot come from Guyana and touchdown at JFK and pick up a license just like that. First of all, you need to be covered with insurance to drive on the roads and highways and byways here in New York and any state in the United States of America. So you would have to establish that. You would also have to provide your Guyana driving information. And I don't think that you get it right away. I think that's
No.
a process that's going to take some time.
Mhm.
Okay, so a lot of times people just don't worry with it. Okay, and just leave that alone. So,
And
yes.
add to
Now,
that, still, even if you touch down there as a newbie, you have to do the test and go through the normal process before
Mhm,
you can even obtain a driver's
mhm,
license in the US. All right?
mhm.
Because
But
yeah,
I left here and went to the States as a driver and I had to do it all over.
mhm.
but you
So you
remember,
just don't get it.
but don't forget, Wayne and Robin, don't forget. Guyana is a special country. So here you don't have to go through any classes. You buy the package and then you put something else under the package that you're going to receive. And the next thing you know, you're collecting the license. So, and that is what is creating a whole lot of the problems in our country. And in addition to that, what do we see? You're going down the road, it's already crowded, and what do you have? Sirens coming behind you. Some minister, some minister's son, some minister's daughter, some minister's father, and they got the blue lights and they bully you off the road. The traffic is going smoothly, and because some minister in a hurry, they put on the siren all of a sudden, which is illegal,
The police officers too, Sister
and they
Coretta.
and they bully you. Police officers, everybody got sirens on their vehicles now, and they bully you along the road. Just yesterday, I was watching a video that a motorist captured. They were on the Harifesta Avenue, and the police was guiding the traffic. And here is it: we had this black Prado driving on the other side, well, not on the other side of the road, but on the inner side of the parapet, and that's on the parapet. He was driving there, beating the traffic, and a policeman was there on a motorcycle traffic rank, and traffic rank was stopping him, and he was just going on the traffic rank, going behind him. So this is the traffic going in an eastern direction, and this vehicle on the outside of all of these vehicles, and he's going, and the next thing you know, by the time the police rank pulled up alongside the driver on the driver's side, the driver, whatever he said to the policeman, and he rode away, and then the police came to the other side, and it is alleged that a minister stopped his vehicle, pulled his window down, and whatever he said to the policeman backed off. And so when we have these kinds of lawlessness happening in our country, and they're being perpetuated by senior officials, what do you expect the ordinary driver to do? What do you expect the ordinary minibus driver to do? What do you expect the ordinary hire car driver to do? And so we must stop it at some point. We must allow persons to know that the road is serious business when you're on the road. That's one. Two, regardless of whether you're a minister or not, the only persons that we're supposed to give way for is the give way to is the
Emergency
president
vehicles.
and ambulances. Or if there's a diplomat and there's a policeman in front with a motorcycle and so on, guiding them along. Nobody else, but everybody pulling their way around these streets. So again, old people would say, and forgive me for saying old people, but they would say the fish starts rotting from the head. So if we have the lawlessness from the top, then you don't expect anything better to happen at the bottom. But what we find happening here, the lawlessness happening at the top, but you're putting a whole lot of pressure on the ordinary man at the bottom. And so again, just over the weekend, we had so many accidents leading into the weekend. We had on the Linden Like Highway, a 19-year-old girl, I think, lost her life. I think she's 19. On the Essequibo Coast, in Region 5, in Region 6, and in Georgetown and on the East Bank, we had accidents where lives were lost. Come on, folks. Lives are precious. And so we need to be careful when we're on the road. Again, let me call on the Minister of Home Affairs. Stop worrying about tint for now. Don't worry about tint. Worry about what is happening on the road. One, worry about what your police officers, your police ranks are doing, and the manner with which they are treating people, the manner with which they are conducting investigations, and the manner with which they are covering up investigations that are supposed to be conducted. Worry about that. That's more important. Go out and send your traffic ranks out there. And it's one of the reasons why we're not having many police ranks in the police force, because those who are serious about the business of policing, they don't want to be caught up in the foolishness.
And they're not given a chance.
Well, some of them are not given the opportunity, and quite a lot of ranks are resigning, and lots of young people are not joining the police force because they don't want to be part of that kind of nonsense. They don't want to be part of that kind of nonsense.
Let me just interject quick, MP McDonald, and I'll just try to summarize what all of you guys would have said. um there's a saying, right? You will reap what you sow. All right. Voting has consequences. All right. And the Guyanese people, they are paying the price for where they would have placed their vote. Look, we got to understand this, and people have to know this. And you guys have been defending the people all the time. At some point, the people have to stand up, take responsibility, and be accountable also.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
The PNCR, and by extension the APNU, would have placed out there a manifesto that I have never read anything better. I have never read anything better with regards to the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and what they had set up for the people of Guyana. It was a people-centered manifesto. Okay? Our people are not reading. That alone shows me that they are not reading and they need to read.
Well,
Because had they read and did their comparative analysis of what they would have experienced the last 5 years
mhm.
under the PPPC government with all the oil revenue coming in, then they would have voted different and not allowed their vote to become a transaction for money. Go ahead.
All
Mhm.
right. So
And I
we're gonna.
totally agree with you. Wait, guys, I have to go. So let me just I have to go because you all know I'm here with the family
Mhm, mhm.
24/7s, right? I would love to sit
Please
throughout,
share our love.
but yes, I will. But I want to agree with you, Wayne. All of these things that are happening now, January, February, March, April, was happening from 2020 prior to 2015. This is
Mhm,
nothing new.
mhm.
All
Same
right.
thing,
The
different day.
APNU had the APNU just they won the election 2015, and from 2015 to 2020 there was order in this country. Those who want to, whether they stifle in their conscience or not, it is a fact. Under the
Mhm,
Grey regime there was
mhm,
order in
mhm,
this
mhm,
country. So all of
mhm.
this we see we happening now, my brother, and you're talking about elections has consequences. Yes, they do, because this and now start. These things that are happening here now started. No way, my dear. Quindon got killed 2022 June. We're in 2026 April.
The Henry boys
Well,
was September of 2020.
you understand? All right. So Adriana was when the Henry
2 years ago,
brothers,
March.
Janae, Peters,
Mhm,
this little
mhm.
young Indian boy. Then
Narek
you have a
Singh.
next one I
Very
learned
sick.
of today, Mahindra Look not. All these other people that pass. Comrades, this thing is happening now. So I 100% watch. I agree with you 1000%. But unless we as a people stand up and take on this government, we have to hold them responsible, accountable for the things that are happening now.
Mhm, mhm. All right. I think Robin is having some issues there. But let me say,
It
while
would not stop. It ain't gonna stop. So I to sit, but your girl gotta go because I have the mother there. They're with me all the time. I'm with them all the time. So I'm
thanks for
going
being
out
here.
there. I'm gonna give them your love, and
Yeah.
I'm trusting that one day she will be able to come sit with us and tell us about the. Listen, it's hard, but
I know.
guys,
Mhm, mhm.
stay on it. Same, just a different day. Same day, just a different. But I love you guys, but I gotta go.
Thanks,
Bye
Robin.
bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So, MP Flo and Comrade Wayne, we're gonna talk some more because we still got a lot of things to talk about. I've seen it's always hard when we have to talk about police brutality and lives that are being lost and accidents. And of course, we hit a little on the roads and the construction of the roads. Again, this comes into question. Where is the minister of was he not? public infrastructure. Is it public infrastructure? Man, that makes me up so much I don't even know. But where is One Edge Hill? We have so many overnight contractors who are given contracts to build roads, to construct roads, who ain't got no idea about what road construction is. No wonder we are seeing the Heroes Highway that was just commissioned. All kinds of things happening there. We're seeing the road leading to the Demerara Harbor Bridge. Confusion there. All across this country, we're seeing the kinds of foolishness. And when we look at what was there before, and that is why they can't stop the ideologies and the visionary Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. Because we had the Lyndon Soesdijk Highway. It's just the other day we had to be doing work on it. We've got the Quarantine Highway just the other day. We've got the road leading from Vredenhoek to Parika just the other day. And those roads were built by solid people who knew what they were about. Not these just comers, not these ministers who get in a drawback, and these ministers who created overnight companies, shell companies, overnight companies, and they're getting the contracts. And you know what? By the time you get the contract, they get the contract and they put somebody there. Let's say the contract costs $3, they pay somebody 150, and the other 150 go to them. And that is why we are having the confusion. Why is it that our roads can't stand for 6 months? And I'm putting it at 6 months. Why is it our roads can't stand for 6 months? And we know the answers. And we got to stop that too. But like you said, Wayne, we had the opportunity to do what we were supposed to do, but we didn't do it. But you know what? The APNU and the PNC by extension will continue to stand and bring these issues to the light and continue to highlight them. As I speak here, I sometimes I don't want to go there, but I have to say it. When Comrade Aubrey Compton Norton was the leader of the opposition, there were shouts all over. Where is the leader? Why are we not seeing this? Why are we not seeing that? Why is he so quiet? Where is the leader of the opposition now? Where is he? You went out there, you garnered the votes. Where are you? The people want to see you. They want to hear from you. They don't want to hear statements from you sitting on a bed. We want to see you on the streets. Come out there and talk to the people, meet the people, understand what they're going through. We don't want an opposition leader who will jump around the place with some fancy vehicle and you're always in some confusion over this vehicle, that vehicle insurance. Walk the road. Walk the streets. That's what you're being paid for. You decided you wanted to have a big man's job. Come do it. Come and do it. I mean, when there is an opposition leader. Where is he? Where is he? The only time I see people out there is when the opposition leader go into court. When the opposition leader fight it up about something, oh, you're going and pay court cost. Oh, people come to seize your vehicle and people coming out there to support you. But I don't see the opposition leader coming out there to support people when they're in need. The family at Haslington, they're in need. Come out there, bring your supporters out there. Accidents are happening. Bring your people out there. Come out there with a mandate for the traffic department. Come out there with a mandate for the Ministry of Human Services. We don't want an opposition leader who will come and dress up in fancy suit. Fancy suit can't resolve our problems. So opposition leader and quote unquote, you got money. Come out there and assist the people. But when we got to move on, we have this whole thing brewing now. Nima, do you want us to take what is happening now with sports and so on before we go to the other one? I don't know how much time you have to spend with me. Good.
Yes.
So let's talk about what's happening now. I recognize that schools are closed. Before time, we had lots of activities that were planned by the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, and the Ministry of Human Services. We had activities planned way beyond 2015 while the PNC were in office. During school breaks, we had activities planned for our young people, our school-age children. All of a sudden, that has been wiped out, and so our children are left to do all kinds of things. MP Nima, as the shadow for sports, I recognize two things are happening. One, we go out of our, well, not we, them, the government, go out of their way to put facilities in areas where those facilities are not going to be used to the extent that we want to see them being used. Mind you, we are not saying that facilities are not supposed to be built in regions. As a matter of fact, I would go so far to say that we must have facilities, sporting facility in every region because we have the monies to do that. They must be in every region, and I'm sure Wayne, you would agree with me. But
Oh, yeah.
schools are out. I'm not seeing our children being engaged in anything. So they're going to be out for 2 weeks. Then we'll have the August vacation. They're going to be out for 8 weeks. And I don't know what plans are there for them. But more especially, I'm seeing circling, bubbling all around the air where we have a cricketer, one of our own. Again, there's a cry that he was deliberately taken off the team by the selecting. I don't know if it's the selecting committee or if it's the chairman of the selecting committee whose name happens to be Ronnie Sarwan. I am sure as a cricketer, Sarwan would know when you are when your name is pulled from a list and reasons are not given, then how that can demoralize persons. But Nima, you take us through that because it's a serious issue and we have to address it.
All right, so let me start with the program for the children. I keep abreast with the activities of the ministry. I see they're promoting a Learn to Swim program, Teach Them Young. And based on the information I've seen, they have swimming program at Albion in Region 6, Region 10 at Watuka Day, guest house. They don't destroy the swimming pool at Mackenzie. So now they're Watuka Day, this guest house, supposed to be conducting a program. They're supposed to be at Essequibo in Region 2, Colgrave. However, these Learn to Swim program, in my mind, is marked by the death of Joel Adams, who lost his life in July 2024 under this set program. And I have taken note of the persons managing this program. And I note that these are the same people who are managing the program when Joel lost his life. Joel's death was covered up because he was living in a state institution. He doesn't live with his parents.
Oh,
So
oh, oh.
nothing came to a follow-up with that particular incident. So I want to caution parents, if you are allowing your child to participate in any of these Learn to Swim program, you have a responsibility first to find out what are the qualifications of the person managing your program, the program that your child is in. Are they a certified swimming coach? You need to look at the safety of the environment. I would have put some comment under the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports page on this matter, because safety is supposed to be first. When you're organizing any sports program, especially for Learn to Swim, and when you look at the international rules, there's a stipulation there's no more than 5 students per coach. And it also depends on the age group that you're running. I want to challenge parents. Whatever program this government is offering, especially for your children, please go and investigate. Don't just pack the children and see it as an excuse to get them out of the house. Go and find out who is in charge of the program, what qualifications they have. Look at the safety measures that are out there so that your child can be protected. Look at the sanitation of the environment, because that's another issue. I would have visited several programs and recognized that they don't even pay attention to basic sanitation of these environments. You might have washroom, they ain't even cleaning it often. They ain't got, the basic necessity to ensure that the child is protected. Added to that, I like to throw a suggestion. The Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, I see them sharing out kites with PPP colors. I know what it should mean. And every single thing for them, they take. Easter is about, for us, for the Christians, it's sacred. It's about the resurrection of Christ. They're supposed to got no PPP colors there to give people. If you can't come up with something better, y'all just relax yourself. Use the online programs that you have. Get persons who are kite makers, pay them, because everything they like for free. Pay these people and run online sessions where people could actually go, a child could actually go and sit, look at the program and make their own kites at
And
home.
learn to make
That
their kites. Mm-hmm.
and do other activities like that that can inspire the children. I think they have the learning channel. I don't know what program they have currently, but on the learning channel that the Ministry of Education runs, again, this is where collaboration can come with the
Mm-hmm.
ministries.
And there's
Run
none.
these programs so that the children can also take part in the activities at home. Because some people like me wouldn't want my children to be at any program that is being conducted by friends, family, and favorites, not experience and qualifications. Because that's what I'm seeing happening a lot of the programs. They just identify party comrades who they know for do something and push them to the front. They don't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge, the know-how, and you have the children there. So for people like me who wouldn't send my children out to any of those programs that don't have proper coaches, run programs online so that the child could still be engaged at home and be a part of the program. That's my suggestion to the government of Guyana. You got Ministry of Education, got the program, you can do that. And the same can happen for Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. You can have that being done instead of just, the photo optics that you like. That's fine, but it will make more sense if you invest there. The children will learn. When it
MP
comes to the
Flow, MP Flow, before you go on, and what they can do too is to make that competitive. So the child with the best kite, the child with the kite that is the funniest, you can make it competitive so that our children enjoy learning while they're learning. It's fun, but
They-
people without a
That's a
vision.
great suggestion. I did that during the COVID. I taught my classes online, and for the practical session, I recall doing table tennis, and I told the parents how they can improvise using the dining table and have the children play. And they made videos, short videos, and they sent it to collect the grades for the practicals. So it's something that can happen. You can actually do a video competition where the child create a video while creating the kite or do whatever it is, and they submit it, and you can see like a winner based on the video. But of course, we wouldn't want to see a secretive process, which leads me to the Leon Johnson issue with the Guyana Cricket Board. Now, all the years of the years I've been in Parliament, when I started to look at Ministry, Youth, Sports and Culture, I would ask for the criteria used. So if you were doing the grants program, there must be a criteria that guides how you determine your winner. And of course, at no time I've never been able to get a straight answer
Because
from
they
the
don't have.
Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports.
Mhm.
And so when we
They-
see these issues come up with the selection of the cricket team, based on my research, the selection doesn't lie wholly and solely in the feet of under the purview of the chairman. It's a committee that is supposed to be involved in this selection process. And when you look at what is the function of the committee is supposed to lead. The chairman of the committee is supposed to lead the committee. They're supposed to coordinate the meeting. They're supposed to have a consensus, manage the entire selection processes. If there's a criteria, use it, and provide the necessary support. And the objective of having a selective selection committee for cricket is to ensure that you provide a balanced team. What does the balanced team involve? It involves first, you look at the current performance and form of the athletes, the cricketer, in this case, the cricketer. You look at their fitness level, how fit they are and ready for competition. You look at their experience and their temperament. How can they function under pressure and all of that? And added to that, you would want to ensure that this person can really exemplify good team spirit and so forth. Because as a team, you can win and you can lose. There's no guarantee a team will always win. So
Mhm.
you need to look at these qualities in the selection of your team. Online, there is actually a cricket calculator to help you with selection. I don't know if in Guyana case, everything is special. I don't know if anything was looked at along that line. And you know what I did? I went and researched who is Leon Johnson. And I recognize, well, I could, as I tell you, Guyana news sometimes it's really got you confused. One time they tell you in one news article, he's a right-handed middle class or the batsman, and then the next one they tell you he's left-handed. So I have to go on, the West Indies site and at different areas to look, because Guyana sometimes you want to know if you're talking about the same person when you have conflict of information coming from the same source, right?
We're not
So that makes it
consistent.
difficult. And based on what I've seen, this young man would have been in the forefront of cricket, leading Guyana team and taking part in competitions. And he has done reasonably well for himself in cricket. Very good. And I look at the team selection they have now, and I would like the chairman, Sarwan, to come to Guyana, come on the program, use the government news, properly their machine, and tell us what was the criteria used for the selection of the Guyana cricket team. I look at all the information that is presented out there. I draw my own conclusion because of my experience in sports, but I wouldn't share it. I would like
Mhm.
the chairman of that committee, and probably the committee should come out and hold a press conference and help us to understand
Yeah.
your method, because like I said, Guyana is a special place. The method you would have used to select your current team, and what were the criteria used and how you arrived there, and the balance of the team. I want to tell them also in doing so, please don't come and say anything about age, because I researched the age of every player on the team, and we have a player older than Leon Johnson on the team. So let me forget about age. So I await, and I'm going to challenge them. I like challenges. I'm waiting on the chairman of the select committee for Guyana Cricket Board to come out and tell Guyanese what is the criteria you use for the selection of your team. And if you think you're confident that you have selected the best team to represent Guyana. Remember, sports don't lie, that's why I love sports. Sports, when you play the sports, the truth comes out. So when you go and you see the performance of the play, it tells a lot. So I'm going to stop there.
Wayne, we'd like to have your bit there before I share mine.
Yes. Yes, and I'll start exactly where the Honorable MP, Miss Nima Flew Best, would have left off. So I am aware of Leon Johnson because I am a cricketing fan. Okay, I am aware of Kevin Sinclair also, and I'm gonna touch quickly on both of them, just high level. Um, Leon Johnson has a good cricketing IQ. Okay, the guy is good. I think he would have led Guyana to the regional championships. Okay, and I watch all these West Indies shows where they talk cricket, and many of these hosts were of the belief that Leon Johnson should have been given an opportunity to captain the West Indies team. The guy is that good. He got that good a cricketing IQ, right? You may not always see it in his batting, but you got to look at holistically at his captaincy, the ability to lead men, right? Yes, he's very, very good at that. And when I saw that Leon Johnson was no longer playing cricket for Guyana, I was quite surprised because, I wouldn't even look at his age. I would look at the mentorship that he would provide to the younger cricketers coming up, right? So I was appalled when I saw that he was no longer on, playing for Guyana, and then he just kind of like disappeared, and look, we have this tendency in Guyana under this PPP government, where we treat our athletes as if they're garbage. Okay. And it is something we have to stop. Look at Terrence Ali. Look how Terrence Ali lived today, basically with nothing, and was a world-class boxer. Okay.
Look at Andrew Sixed Lewis and the way he died.
And yes, yeah, and there's a lot of questions about how he died. I'm not even gonna get into that, but there are questions there. But I'm gonna quickly touch on Kevin Sinclair. No, how many players on the Guyana team can do front flips and back flips and all these things that this guy does do? Look, Kevin Sinclair is a natural athlete. okay? And he would have played for the West Indies team before. There is no way that Kevin Sinclair should be out of the Guyana setup unless he is badly out of shape or is injured. There's
Mhm,
no way that
mhm,
he should be out of
mhm,
the setup, and I would cry foul on that. So I think Ramnarish Sarwan and his committee, they need to get together and take a second look. Because one thing that Guyanese shouldn't stand for, because look, this government have just infringed on everything. And if they're going to get into sports also and determine who makes the team and who does not make the team, I mean, come on now. You know, I have
We
said on my
quality.
program,
Mhm,
Honorable MP, that we need to sink our foot in the earth, we need to lock arms together, and we need to shout out, no more. We are
mhm,
not
mhm,
giving any more ground. And
mhm,
look, you guys are MPs. I'm not going to hold you guys to this, but allow me the latitude to say this afternoon. All right. We are not going to sit down in our country, okay, and allow foreigners to come and dictate how we live, come and dictate who is in government, you know,
mhm,
and things. That's the
mhm,
decisions for
mhm,
the Chinese people to make,
mhm,
okay? I understand that they're investors, I understand that there are deals, I understand all this stuff, but just
yep.
like the United States and all the other countries around the world, Guyana has people. Look what they're going through now. Flood waters. Well, we had a massive flood in, I think, 2005 under the PPP.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
been consistent flooding over the decades. And these people have lived through all of these
Mhm,
things, lost so much. Government don't compensate them when they lose furniture and they lose all this stuff. Although we are the
mhm,
fastest growing economy with a lot of revenue coming in from oil and other natural resources that we've never seen before, we
mhm,
still do not
mhm.
allocate monies to compensate our people when there are natural disasters, right?
Well,
That
Wayne, let me
mhm,
correct you there.
okay,
We don't allocate and
right? I
compensate
was just,
some.
okay. Wait, repeat that. Repeat that. I want to hear that
We
again.
don't allocate and compensate some people, some of
Okay,
our people.
okay. Well,
Don't,
ladies and gentlemen,
let me remind you what transpired in Monterey Post. You forget people get $1 million for Pylori and
Glory.
$3 million for Flow.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, that is true, MP, and thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, compensation. Some people get it. It's a line more so you get compensation along party lines, which
Mhm,
should not be right. And look, it is obvious that the PPP government is not a government for all. You see, a lot of people criticize the coalition government of 2015 to 2020, but that was a government that tried to govern the country holistically,
So
all
and
concerns.
and to the books and to the books. Not
Yes.
like what we're having here now, where we're seeing the fishermen are complaining that men who are not fishermen they're going to collect relief. Men who are not farmers in Region 5, the people complain. Those who are not farmers, they're collecting monies for relief, flood relief, and when their crops are damaged. I just saw coming from Blackbush Polder, a farmer, but of course I can't play it here because of all the decorative language that the young man is using. But go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, and I want to touch on one more thing that Honorable Nima Flubes MP would have touched on. Um to the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. And Honorable Coretta MacDonald, I know that you and Honorable Nima Flubes should be familiar with this, but I heard you would have evoked the name of the late, great Lyndon Forbes Sampson Barnum earlier.
Got to do
I
it.
just want to add this that and Honorable Nima Flubes would know about this because I got a little snippet on her that she was a national athlete. She was an athlete. So she's familiar with the regimen and all of these things. So let me say this, Honorable Nima Flubes. You remember in the times when we used to have school sports and school sports was a thing. The stands were packed. People
Mhm,
were into it, right? You
mhm,
didn't finding the children smoking weed out at big market and vaping and doing all these things, right? Because hey, they weren't living under a lawless government, right? There was structure there, right? At the joint services level also. On Sunday, you could have gone to Border Green, Campaign Ghana, you could have watched joint services. Right. I remembered some of the names like Gavin Hope and Clarence Bancroft and Basil Bracha and these guys. These guys used to tear it down, right? We were, look, we had great athletes in Guyana. We still do, but the structure is just not there for them. I
It's not.
understand that the Ministry of Youth Sports and Culture was trying to stop inter-house sports and all of these things, cut back on these things. But look, when you have inter-house, inter-school, inter-district, international, you get to identify young athletes at an early stage. Therefore you can groom them and you can prepare them for the national level. But the PPP is not a government that cares about athletes, really cares about sports. Cricket, yes. Anything else, I am not too sure about anything else. Basketball, I don't know. There's been some growth in basketball, but I saw the Honorable Nima Flubeth was in some area. I believe it was in the Kitty area. I may be wrong, but she was pointing out the condition of a recently constructed basketball court. It was despicable. The rain flooded the entire thing. It was imbalance. It was very, very, very poor work. And that's what you get when you have an incompetent government, a government that is not willing to be accountable to its people, a government that is merely transactional and not people-centered.
Not
Right?
people-centered.
But Honorable Coretta McDonald and Honorable Nima Flubeth, I say this to you guys. The thing in life is that when you mess up, somehow or the other, it comes back around where you get an opportunity to correct it.
That's
And
true.
this local government election that is coming up here, all right, is a big one. It's a massive one because the people need to get out there and they need to vote overwhelmingly. I'm not going to say for the opposition. I'm going to say for the APNU because that has been the party that would have demonstrated strong values in my opinion, my strong opinion, strong values, okay, and humility. They care about people. They are people centered, and the issues that we are facing in Guyana, it's with our people. Over to you guys.
So while thanks, Wayne. Nima, I heard you, but I was hoping that you would bring in some of the others. Under the People's National Congress, under the leadership of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, we had circle tennis. Y'all remember the y'all know was rounders? I wonder if Charles Robson was rounders. We had that. Huh? Huh? We had netball. We had volleyball. We had football was a big thing. Who else y'all can help me remember? In addition to those, we had, a sal pass. Charles know a sal out. Hmm? Hmm?
Gum.
You had gum. Huh?
Mhm.
Do we
But
remember that?
Honorable Coretta McDonald, we had soccer at GFC every Sunday. Every Sunday. Border ground was always maintained. The cricket ground was always maintained.
You
Since
know,
you got the stadium now, I see border just left there. And the
because
people
we wait,
always
we
complain
wait, we waiting to sell it to somebody. We waiting to sell it to a friend or family or
hotel.
favorite. But again, the thing is, sports was everywhere, and you had to be a part of sports. It's not like what is happening now. And I mean, on one angle, I agree with parents. They're not going to allow their children to place too much emphasis on sports, go in the direction of academics, because as a sportsman or sportswoman, you don't get anywhere, especially if you're in a particular sport. But sports was part and parcel of the school's curriculum. You had to be part of something, you had to be doing something. But what we have now, they wash it away. And that's why you can't stop what happened back then prior to 1992. You can't stop what happened then. Then we had our sportsmen and women just flying the flag of Guyana. What are we having now? You hardly see that happening now. And we either come in third or fourth and sometimes fifth and sometimes nowhere. But the thing is, like I said earlier, there is no collaboration in between these ministries. They're all disjointed. Just because everybody fighting for their own turf, not remembering that as a government, they ought to work together. That government is not a jointed one. They're everybody disjointed. Everybody looking to make a big money here, a big money there. They want the ministry to do so. They want to parade themselves up and down. But they've got to understand, and we have to make them understand that this country is ours. All the monies here belong to us. The children that we have now are going to be the leaders for tomorrow. And if we don't make them rounded individuals, then they're not going to be productive citizens. And this is what this government doesn't understand. I wonder if Charles know about mass games, or Stephen Jacobs, if they know about mass games. I
That's
remember
a
those
hard
days
question.
when we looked forward for flag raising, and the students are there sitting on the stands of the national park with those big books, and you just see the books flipping and going, and the children on the tarmac. I mean, and we are the fastest growing economy, eh? We're the fastest growing economy, and we don't have access. We can't get there. And you know why we can't get there? Because for them, it's invoking LFS Burnham again. For them, it's invoking the champion. For them, they don't want to do that. They don't want to recognize him. But let me say it on this program, regardless of how the PPP government tried to downplay Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, OESC, president of the first president of the executive president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. When you try to downplay him, other persons are spiraling his name all over. And you can't erase what Burnham did in this country. Burnham built the Kanji Bridge. Under his leadership, the Kanji Bridge was built. It's still going good up to now. You do the Barbies Bridge, you take all the NIS money, and you still can't recover it. We still can't. No wonder the workers, when they retire and they get to the age of 60, they hear all kind of thing, their contributions in there. They can't find records, this, that, because they don't have monies to pay them. But that's another part of the story that we're going to talk about. But I want us to zero in on this most important one. We've had, I think Wayne touched on it, we had flooding. And you notice all these disasters happening when the PPP get into office. You know, every time there's a disaster, the PPP is a real disease. That every time they get into government, people are affected and infected. But we had floods in 2000. We had floods in 2015. Remember that? When David Granger forgot that he was the president and he came out there with his shovel and so on. Y'all remember that? And then we had all these businessmen who came on board, and we had the desilting of our canals. We had the cleaning of the drains and cleaning, and everybody came out then and they were cleaning their communities. Y'all remember that period? And we hadn't the kinds of floods that we are seeing now with all the monies that we have now. And so it is simply saying to us that these people have no vision. If they had vision, then you wouldn't make canals drains, because the canals were placed there to take off the excess water. So when you make the canals drain, what you expect to happen? The landing of whole water. Now, and then when they do that, they like to flip the script and throw the blame on somebody else. So the city is flooded. The blame is that of the mayor and city council. In other villages where you have NDCs, you're not hearing the big cry, but you're hearing the big cry about what is happening in Georgetown. It's the mayor and city council. It's the mayor and city council. It's the mayor and city council, because they want to paint a picture in the minds of the citizens who live in Georgetown. But let me tell y'all who live in Georgetown something.
Mhm.
If you don't wake up and smell the coffee now, cat gonna eat your dinner. And I'm sure you could interpret that, because if you don't have no dinner, then you go hungry for the rest of the night. And when you're hungry, then all sorts of things could happen to you. And so we had the flooding. And rather than us seeing people coming out there. You see, we notice all the ministers, if not all, most of them dress up in fancy long boots, dress up in fancy coat. Some of them they ain't got no water in the streets, but they got some water by the gutter at the side of somebody's house, and they're walking in that water, and they got a piece of steel in their hand. Foolishness. All of this just photographs to pump here and there and everywhere to give the impression nothing of value was done on that day. Absolutely nothing. Now, people's homes were flooded. Nobody thought that, hey, let's evacuate these people from here. And since schools are out, let's put them in the schools for 2 days or 3 days or for a week. Let's put them in the schools. So when the water went out, they'll have enough time to go there and clean while their children are going to be in a safe place. Nobody thought of doing that, but they walk around all these places. People show you the chairs went up. The refrigerator water went into the refrigerator. It spoiled this, it spoiled that, everything. But nobody thought of doing that. And then they turn up 2 days after or a day after and say, you see, the water gone. Oh, it's the mayor that didn't remember to open the coker. How the hell are you opening the coker when it's raining and the tide is high? How do you do that? And so this is for Priya Manik Chand. She must stop going out there and saying foolishness. If you don't have anything to say, my grandmother used to say nothing. When you don't have anything to say nothing. But don't open your mouth and spill garbage out there. It's like what Onage went out there to talk about the tint, and she didn't even know what she's saying. But and this is the PPP. They always feel that they can go out there and talk all kinds of foolishness. So I was waiting for them to turn up the next day or 2 days after with the black buckets. This is their this is their signal. There's a signal that show, you know. What do you call it? There's a name that you call it. Wayne, help me with the name. This is their signature, where they come out with the black bucket and they have a packet of soap powder, a bottle of Bright Bold, a bottle this size of disinfectant, a bottle of Fabuloso, and what else? Did I say a packet of soap powder? And that's it.
Handouts.
That's it. That you give them that to clean their house. You're not thinking now about the chair that get wet up, the chair that soak up water and so on. You're not thinking about the mattress, because some people, in their homes they don't have enough room to put. They got one bed and you sleep on the outside because too many of you living in the house. They talk about the mattress that gets soaked up. They talk about the fridge that was damaged. They're not talking about that, but they come with their bucket, their signature thing. This bucket with the thing, and then they put it right at the top so everybody could see it. The Bright Bowl, the bleach, the little J's fluid that they buy, the little bottles, and the packet of soap powder. So not even a mop, not even a long broom, not even a pair of gloves, not even a pair of long boots. They're not giving you that. But they come with a little stupidness and they're sharing it out. And they feel good that they're sharing these out. But I want Guyanese people to know, wherever they're distributing these, they're not doing you a favor. They're not doing you a favor, because MP Nemaflu will tell you that monies were approved in the budget for that. Monies were approved for it. Monies were approved for it. The PM stood up and defended that. Monies were approved for it. And it's your monies. The monies that you pay in taxes is your monies coming back to you. So don't get carried away. And Minister, I'm glad you come. You're a woman of your word. You said you're going to come back. I'm glad you come back. Nonsense. That's the obligation of any government. That's the obligation. But then let's move from the floods and let's talk about what's happening at the Mayor and City Council. The Mayor and City Council, they have their bylaws. And we often hear them talk about democracy and operating by the laws. But yet this same wicked, vindictive, stinking, dirty government, they're operating against the law. As long as it's not going right for them, they don't have to do it. Now, we've seen over the last maybe 3 days or so, the government coveting. The Bible speaks about covetousness. The Bible said, don't covet what is your neighbor's. The government coveting 54 streets, belonging that fell under the mandate of the City Council. Wayne, I'm going to give you the lead on this one. Your thoughts about this?
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Coretta. Let me say this with regards to the government taking, because that's what this government does. They taking 54 streets away from the mayor and city council. It's not a good thing. All right. What this government is doing, because as much as many may not want to look at the mayor and city council in this frame, the mayor and city council is a guardrail. Okay. It's a guardrail for the city. All right. Now, when you have central government taking over 52 streets and leaving the mayor and city council with the remainder, or 57, I see Audrey Brown says 57, and leaving the mayor and city council with the remainder. Now, we all know that it is central government that funds the mayor and city council.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And all
We
the
all
NDC.
know, right. And all the NDCs, right?
Mhm.
We all know that the mayor and city council of Georgetown is having a lot of difficulty collecting taxes. Businesses are not paying their taxes.
Even the government.
And the government, yes, because I think it's GPL owes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, GPL owes a lot. I believe it might be in the billions. I'm not sure. It's a lot of money.
Ministry of Education too.
Right. So look, you have all these people that are not paying. Now the Ministry of Education is under the government.
Mm-hmm.
GPL is under the government.
Mm-hmm.
So here it is, you, the government. You're not paying the mayor and city council, but yet you are wrong and still strong to come and say that you're taking away 57 streets after not paying these people. So I believe that the mayor and city council needs to take the government to court. They need to take them to task. This is wrong. This is being wrong and strong at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing, MP, that's going to happen here. Now, the government has control of all the revenue. They have the revenue pool. Everybody gets whatever is allocated and whatever they feel like giving to you.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
get it from the central government. So here it is that the central government is going to have all the resources at their disposal, right, to make those 57 streets look better, right, and more prepared, fixed up than what the mayor and city council will have, because look, they are they're being shortchanged by the same government. Now, I'm going to say this, and I hope Guyanese don't get upset. You guys got to open your eyes, because the PPP thinking is that you guys are uneducated. You're just going to look at the optics of those 57 streets,
Yep.
and the way they look, and say, well, look what the PPP is doing, and look what the mayor is doing. You're not going to look deep. You're not going to read into it. You're not going to ask questions. You're not going to join pertinent programs to learn more about it. And there is where you go and you vote, for more incompetence, right? So you guys on the growing Guyana, you guys have to be educated to these things. And look, I would not fault the mayor and city council if they create a list and put it out there of all who owe and the amounts that they owe. There is nothing wrong with that. Okay? The mayor and city council need to recapture these outstanding tax liabilities, because they need it in order to be able to do their work, because central government is not funding them the way they should.
Mm-hmm.
And the budgets that are in place there for Georgetown should be triple the amount. It should be triple that amount that they're giving to them. They're giving them next to nothing. And it's worse in Linden. So, Honorable MP, we have a major problem here. And it's something that needs to be addressed, because here you have the PPP that is knocking down yet another guardrail. All right. And I think eventually it's going to lead to them saying that they want to eliminate the mayor and city councils across Guyana, and everything can be done by central government. Why? Because central government loves to control the money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to allocate what belongs to other heads. Over to you.
Wayne and Nima, I see it deeper than that. Um, One, we said we already established the fact that it's their aim, especially Georgetown and Linden, to cripple those two entities and to give the impression, like you said, that those entities aren't functioning, they can't function, they don't have the ability to function. Now, when you look at the streets in Georgetown that the government would have taken possession of, look at the streets. Those are the streets that ensure that the mayor and city council is able to earn Vicinsion Road, Church Street, North Road. You hear the streets I'm calling? And those are
Regent Street also.
Regent Street. Those are the streets that allow the mayor and city council. Now, when you take away Regent Street, the businessmen there and so on, you know what they're going to do? Like they're already doing, they're not paying already, but they will look and say, well, look, I'm giving a contribution to the government to maintain Regent Street, so I don't have to pay any taxes to you anymore. And the government with their wickedness would go in that direction to look and to ensure that amnesty be granted to these persons because they're offering help elsewhere and that they don't have to pay taxes to the city council. But the bigger picture here is that I'm hoping that those who are online, those who are here viewing us, that they're going to spread the word. The bigger picture here is the PPP don't do anything when they're not fully, when they don't calculate it. Everything that the PPP do, it is well calculated. And so you know what they're going to do? Sooner or later, they will move from the mayor and city council. They will start attacking citizens directly. If you don't hear now and you don't learn now, like I said before, cat will eat your dinner. You see all of those, you see the boulevard that they just did there? You think they do it because they have your interest at heart? No, they do it because they have your interest at heart. They did that because they have other plans for that area. And so citizens who are living there, let me say to you, the time will come when the government will make another move to take over your homes if you're not paying your taxes. If you're not paying your taxes, they will make that move sooner or later to take over your homes. Because if you can't pay the taxes, and you know how they operate, when they look at the amount of taxes you owe, they will give you a short span to pay it. And when you can't pay it, they will take away your properties. And so that boulevard there that they would have done so nicely, even though, they got so many hitches with it, but the roads have been done. That same boulevard, they will take away your properties and sell to their friends and their families. You see all them areas in All Boys Town, the island, northeast the penitence, east the penitence, west Cromwell, and so on. You see the areas where they're concentrating on and they're wanting to do this. Oh, West Cromwell, we will come and do this. Oh, the residents in East Cromwell, we're coming, we're going to do up your basketball court, we're going to do this. Those same snakes will come there and creep on you again and take away what you would have been where you would have been living in for donkey years, like what they did to the people in Mucka, like what they did to the people at Success, at Hillfoot, and all other places that they've been doing, what they did to the people in Friendship. Mind you, we understand that the land they issue with Friendship is privately owned and all of that. But where were these people all of the time? But that's another story. And the government, let me say, the government could have stepped in there, but we can deal with that at another time. But I want to concentrate on what is happening in Georgetown and what they might want to attempt to do in Linden as well and in other areas. Be mindful, be watchful, be alert, because this government is a wicked government. And what they will want to do is to displace you from where you are and to send you elsewhere so that they can have full control over this city. Nima, you're going to have your say on this, and then I'm going to throw it over to Wayne again.
All right. Thank you. My say is simple, and I can say this to the people. As a thief cometh in the night, so the PPPC government cometh to you. They normally come in, groove in, mind your business,
Mhm.
which they've been doing, and then they invade your space. And before you know it, you're either out on the streets or you're running around like a headless chicken trying to get him. I want to say to the people of Georgetown, don't be fooled by what you see. This government speaks about bullying, and they're the perfect example of what bullies look like.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they can't get it one way, they come up with another strategy to get it another way. And so the people of Georgia have to keep their eyes open, pay up your taxes, check in on what is happening. Don't engage these people into any discussion that's not needed. I always recall an experience of someone on the East Bank that shared one minister come, mooch up and say they want to keep meeting and so forth. And guess what? The minister's eyes was on the people lands and wanted to start sending things on the lands and so forth. No proper engagement, nothing until the family had to intervene. So I'm saying to you, as a thief cometh in the night, so does the PPPC government comes to you. Don't let all this love up and much up what they coming with.
Mhm.
They have their own sinister plan. And that is what they're working on. They're not working in the interests of Guyanese people. Bullying the mayor and city council and bullying NDCs, we just roll in and take over because it's government. I'm going to challenge Guyanese people. Let us react to them the same way they're reacting to us. They're treating us the exact, you know, when Guyanese people wake up and start behaving, I want Guyanese people to really start behaving like the PPPC government. Just when they roll in and they invade you space, it's the same, that's the exact same attitude they gotta be with. Because they feel, because they're in government, they're untouchables. And so they will do what they want. And they will use the law, what they feel, however they see it fit to benefit them. But again, as Guyanese, we have to pay attention. Another phrase I'm going to use before I come off the program today. When you invite the enemy in your house, you can't find peace. We want to invite the enemy into our homes, and you think you can find peace, you won't find peace. So if you cannot be wise enough and pay attention to what is being done to you by this government, you won't find comfort where you live in. And so to the people of Georgetown, this fight is not only the mayor and city council. You're a part of the fight.
Mhm. Mhm.
You are a part of the fight.
Mhm.
And so do not be distracted, but get involved, keep up to date with the information, and take the necessary steps to protect yourself. I want to thank you so much for having me. Wayne, was nice seeing you. And of course, it's always nice to be on the show where we talk about the same thing on a different day. God bless all of you.
Mhm. When?
Yes. I'm figuring, Honorable Coretta McDonald, this is my closing remark for this evening. Are we coming off now? Is this a closing remark?
No, no, it's not our closing
No.
remark.
Okay, good, 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 good. All right. Well, look, I want to quickly touch on this, and this is adding to what you and Honorable Nima Flubes sort of already touched on a bit. I would say that the people of All Boys Town, the people of Lane Avenue, some of you are out there in Kingston, anywhere around Greater Georgetown, you guys need to make sure that your taxes are up to date. You know, Honorable Coretta, I must say this. You know, it's so much pressure on people to pay their taxes. And nobody thinks of the fact that close to 60% of Guyanese are living in poverty and 35% are living in abject poverty. But you
Mhm.
see how
Mhm.
quick we are to want our taxes. Oh, yes, be up to date with your taxes or we're going to throw you out or whatever the case is. You know, what type of government would do that to its own people? And I want anybody on the program to name a time when the APNU PNC would have ever bulldozed Guyanese and throw them out into the street, women and children included. When has that ever happened? So it's kind of mind-boggling to me sometimes, trying to figure out how can people, have voted to endorse this government once again for another 5-year term. But then also I am forced to segue now and ask the question, is the electoral process in Guyana what it should be? Is it free and fair elections that we have in Guyana? I don't believe so.
Not when Auntie Claudette is there.
Right. So the people of Guyana, look, a lot of pressure have been put on the APNU party, a lot of pressure when it comes to a new voters list and biometrics. But like I said earlier in the program, the leaders can fight how much they want. If the people are not beside and behind them to push them and support them, then that change that they seek will never come. All right? All on sundry has to be on board in order for us to be able to execute this change. And Honorable Correct, if you would allow me the latitude, I wanted to touch quickly on the approach that I see from the Win Party, and if I was a leader within the Win Party, what I would have done. Now, here comes a new party, all right, with a new leader. And if you ask me my opinion, that person is not ready. That person is not ready, was not ready, and it will take some time for that person to be ready to be leader. Look, we have to be honest here, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, that person fighting for their own survival right now. So
Right.
yeah.
Being the leader of the opposition is such a key position when it comes to executing exactly what we are talking about here, what is happening. The leader of the opposition should be frontal with these issues that are occurring here right now. Frontal. Instead of that, the leader of the opposition is battling to save himself. Hence the reason I would have said that the party should have chosen somebody else to sit in that position and allow the young man, if you all want him to be an MP, to sit as an MP and learn. Just like most of the other MPs, they would have sat there and learned. They were not just thrown into leadership. But again, us Guyanese, we got to look and examine ourselves, because I believe that the standard now for opposition leader has been the threshold, the standards, it's so low now that anybody off the street, as far as I'm concerned, can walk in and be opposition leader. And the other thing, as a new party coming in, right, I would want to leverage the older parties in the opposition that has been there a long time and has, a lot of experience. They understand the historical context of how everything works. I would have wanted to leverage that party, partner with that party, and work towards whatever collective goals we would have sat down and determined that we are going, whether it's going dealing with the electoral process and electoral reform, whether it is dealing with poverty. There is a whole lot of issues, miscarriage of justice, a lot of things, right? But to see how the Win Party is moving right now, it's disappointing. I'm gonna say that it's grossly disappointed. But I'll say this also: the APNU, with their 12 disciples, they are on such a roll right now that, once the people start to read in and start to, suck in, become sponges and understand what these 12 and what the party holistically is trying to put out there, right? And the electoral apparatus, is updated and reformed, and we can have free and fair elections, I am confident that the APNU can steamroll everybody. I am confident because I believe by that time, people would move back and understand, hey, we have moved away from our values. We would have moved away from the fabric of our nation.
Mhm,
Okay. We
mhm.
will pick, and Honorable Coretta, we seem to go there and pick up other people's values and try to attach them to us. Yes, there are some good values out there that you can pick up, but we're also picking up all the bad ones, more so the bad ones. Look at the guns that we have in our streets today. Look at
Mhm.
all our young high school children. They're smoking the weed, they're vaping,
The vaping,
they're doing all
all
these
kinds of weapons in schools. Yep.
things. And I know that you're an educator and you've been attached to the GTU for such a long time. And look,
Mhm,
while
mhm,
I'm here with you, I must thank you for your work with the GTU and how you've stood up and stood out and taken frontal positions for our teachers who continue to do an excellent job, but
mhm,
they
mhm.
are underpaid. They continue to excel, but they are underpaid. All
And
right.
let me say, Wayne, to our viewers. I heard Anil talking about democracy and what must be done here and following the rule of law and this, that, that. But he himself and his government, they are guilty of not following the rule of law because in 2024, the Judge Kisun, ruled that the government was absolutely wrong to stop the deduction of the Jews going to the Guyana Teachers Union. They appealed that. The judges in the appeal court ruled with the High Court judge, and to date, they have not reinstated the deduction of the Jews. So this government can't talk to anybody about democracy. They can't talk to anybody about putting people first because you know what you're doing? You are victimizing our teachers because they stood up against the wrong that you were doing to them. And what you have done to our teachers, we will never forgive you for it. Because with withholding the Jews from the GTU, you have withheld bursaries from our teachers' children, the young children who are innocent. You have withdrawn bursaries from teachers who excelled at university. At the union, we gave bursaries to our teachers as long as they perform well at university, at CPC, or at GTI, those who do courses at the Government Technical Institute. We extend disaster benefits to our teachers in times like these when there would have been when we have the flood. The GTU offers or offered then disaster benefits to our teachers. You have taken that away from our teachers. When there's a death in a teacher's family, if a teacher loses a mother, a father, a spouse, or a child under the age of 18, we give to them death benefits. The government would have taken that away from our teachers, and we will not forgive you for that. This is year 2026, and you have not reinstated that, even though the High Court and the appeals court ruled in favor of the GPU. You have not done that. In addition to that, $25 million is a grant that is usually given to the GTU. It is signed on in the agreement. Even though that inflated agreement in 2024 was signed, it's signed on there and it has been happening way before then. $5 million grant given to the union. Last year, the government decided that they're not giving that money to the union, and it was budgeted for and approved. They did not give that to the union. There's a $5 million again in this budget that has been budgeted, that has been approved. We will wait to see what they will do with that money. And so you have to ask the question, where are these monies going? Sonia, you will have to tell us what you did with those monies when you're taking it to send. Look, I'm not going to get there, but this is the wickedness of this government, and I needed to say it.
Well said, Honorable MP. Look, I'm going to add to what and these are great points that you would have just put out there, and I wasn't even aware of these things. But now I am well edified and well aware of them. I would say this to the teachers as a collective. you guys need to continue to lock arms and stand together.
Mhm.
What they are essentially trying to do with taking all of these things away from you is to align you with a PPPC agenda. So you're going to see that you're not getting these things being a part of your union. And then they're going to come and talk you out on the side, okay, to
Mhm.
get you to side with them. And they're going to tell you they're going to give you all these different things, okay? And essentially, Honorable Corretto, they're going to try to eliminate the unions, right? But teachers, you have to understand the union will always protect you once it is in place. And you need to keep that in place. We
And
need
let
to
me
work as a team.
let me say to Wayne that
Mhm.
our teachers, when they find themselves in any problem and they have to seek the services of an attorney, GTU assists in that area as well. If a teacher is sick and that teacher is in the hinterland and they come to Georgetown, we usually house them at our dorms in at GTU, in our dorms at GTU. We usually offer housing for our children when teachers bring them on tour from the hinterland. We usually house them at GTU. But this government is seeking to destabilize GTU because we stand up there and we speak out. And this speaking out is not convenient speaking out. This speaking out has been consistent from the days of Jean Persico and all the others, the Jacksons and all the others. We have been consistent as a union. And I must remind you, in 2018, when the coalition was in government, we stood on the streets against them. So our speaking out and our standing up is not convenient. We have been consistent because we stand on the principles that Hubert, Nathaniel Critchlow, and so many others fought for. We stand on those principles. And it's a shame that we have a Ministry of Labor, like they like to boast. Under the coalition, there was a Department of Labor, but under the PPP, there's a ministry. We have a Ministry of Labor. We had one minister before, we have another minister now, and none of them have the gall to stand up and say, what this government is doing is wrong and we must correct the wrong. None of them.
Yep. This the government continues to just make their own decisions, dance to
Mhm,
their own music. There's no
mhm,
engagement. Look, I was listening to you speaking on the fact when it pertains to drainage and irrigation, how the canals are turning into little drainers. Okay.
mhm, mhm.
So if you're turning the canals into little drainers, that's a big thing. Because we know the coastline has a tendency to always flood.
It's
So
below sea
you're
level.
moving away canals that us take on a lot of the water. So you would have had to engage with the opposition, letting them know what the plan is. You know,
Mhm, mhm.
there is no engagement. So when we talk about Guyana and democracy, Guyana is supposed to be a representational democracy, but I don't see it. I see the framework there, okay, but the PPP is not respecting anything about democracy. But yet, and this is concerning. And I know that these people are in Guyana for the best interest of their nation, and everybody right now is latched on to investment in Guyana, and everybody wants a piece of the pie with our resources. But to know that these people go and they sit in meetings and they go and they present themselves at press conferences with this
Mhm.
same government, it is quite a shame. It's an atrocity. It's a total disrespect to the Guyanese people because there is no way that I am looking at Guyana and looking at the way that the PPP operates and calling Guyana a functioning democracy. Not a chance. Not a chance. Anything you want, you have to align yourself with the PPP. They're
Mhm,
giving out
mhm.
money for kites, or they're giving out kites. It's in PPP colors. How could that be? You know the
Mhm.
kind of optics that you're creating there when you do such a thing? You're
They
creating
know.
optics that, hey, this is PPP flag, PPP colors. we are a dictatorship. That's
Mhm.
basically what you're telling
Yes.
everybody.
Mhm.
Over to you, Honorable Coretta.
Yes. So I know that while when they say when you are having fun, time you don't have enough time and or time is running out. And so I want to leave with you these few little highlighters because we did not get a touch on them. One, we have a sanctioned commander who is still on administrative leave, still collecting his salaries, and nothing is being done about that. Tell me what would have happened if it were a regular public servant. What would have happened? You would have already been at home, not receiving any salary. You would have been dismissed already. So here's it, sanctioned commander, still on administrative leave, and nobody can say when an investigation is going to be launched so that we can have a full report to determine whether he should face um, the police. um they put, well, I'm not even sure if they have the commission there that governs the police force, but he is still on administrative leave and still receiving salaries and all his benefits, while you as ordinary public servants, you have to struggle. And then we have the big ships. We have the ships and the ships and the ships and the sinking ships, the ships that rot, usually bite the wires. Pigeon, it's pigeons, blackbirds usually bite them. All kinds of things usually happen to them. But these same ships that we have to pay in excess of 235,000 US, 235,000 US as rental, that has been renewed. That contract has been renewed. So we still have the ships, the sinking ships, the blackout ships, the shutdown ships, everything ships, and Guyanese monies are going to be continually used to pay those. And then we have the in 2025, we had in the budget market upgrades. Monies were approved for that, but we don't know what has happened there. I know the monies were placed on um, the central housing and planning unit for drainage and maintenance, but we have not seen that, because what we have seen every time there's heavy rain, Stabrook Market flooding, Border Market flooding, East Lepenitons Market, East Lepenitons, East Rumvelt Market flooding. Everywhere there is a market, it's flooded, and we don't know what is happening. So, viewers, you need to find out what is happening here. Who are the persons that are usually given the contracts? Whether those contracts are and works are activated. We need to know how much those contracts was the total sum for the contracts that have been awarded, so that we can monitor what is happening, because these monies belong to us. And then, of course, we touched on sports, but we did not remember to bring this up a little earlier. When I heard you talking about inter-house sports, and you and I know that back then we used to have sports was every day, because every day you saw the children running, every day they're running in the ball field, every day they're running somewhere. But our sports has now been dwindled down to absolutely nothing. Where in the primary schools we have inter-house, then inter-school sports, and it's dead right there. There is nothing further happening. So in that light, we cannot pull those who would have displayed certain potential and start training them. We shut them down right at inter schools. And then we have the inter-secondary school national championship, where you only have secondary school children participating. Are we to understand that this is really one Guyana? When you're throwing one side of our children out, but you're pulling the other side out? When during the 62 years that GTU manned the sports, um, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, we had then the National Swimming, Cycling, Track and Field, and the Teachers Championship. Over the last 2 years, we've knocked the teachers out of the picture. So we have no championship for our teachers. We've knocked them out. We've knocked those little babies who we went there to see, to jump up and shout, run, run, and they fall down and they get up and they look around and they start running again, which form the highlighted and the excitement in our sports. We don't have that any longer, because this government has no vision. And that is why sometimes we can't perform at international levels, because rather than tutoring and grooming our children from an early age, when they start displaying these athletics tendencies, we shut them out and then we pull them up again when they get to 12 years and 13 years old. When they're grown, then we want to train them into being this and being that. No wonder Jamaica will always be ahead of us. No wonder Trinidad will always be ahead of us. No wonder Grenada and St. Kitts and St. Lucia will always be ahead of us. Even now, while we are the country with the fastest growing economy, and we do what? 1 million barrels a day. That's what we do. We still can't get it right. And we'll never get it right as long as the PPP is there. But Wayne, I'm going to take your comments as we close, and then we're going to close the program.
Okay. So I would like to quickly touch, well you talk of the commander that is on the sanction. He's still receiving a salary. That is shameful. Um
I forgot to mention me. I forgot
yes,
to
I was
mention
just
me.
gonna talk about the permanent secretary. Yes, May Thomas, yes. She's also on the same thing. And look, all of these individuals are tied, ladies and gentlemen, to the
Mhm,
PDC government.
mhm,
Which should be no surprise. All right, which should be no surprise because when you speak of corruption and you speak of sanction, and I can't understand how come the word corruption is banned in Parliament. These guys
You know
are
what?
really beside themselves, man.
They know why.
But these individuals should not be continuing to receive the taxpayers' money. All right. I believe and I agree that everybody deserve a right to due process.
Yes, a fair hearing.
Right. And to know that this would have occurred so long that they have gotten these sanctions and nothing has been done, here is where you continue to bleed the taxpayers of Guyana. Right? We have young people, whether disabled and all these type of things, who needs welfare, who needs money. They really do need money for their daily living. Right? It's not like if they're sitting down and they want the money for luxuries. They need it, right? For their daily needs. Not wants, needs. Right? And you have to give out these large salaries to these individuals who are sanctioned and just sitting at home, not contributing
Mhm,
anything, you
mhm,
know, and receiving. So that's shameful. When it comes to the school championships, and we touched on that earlier, right? We touched on that earlier. Look, it's just a travesty to see that our
mhm,
children, it cannot just be about education, education, education all the time. You need a breather. Okay. And if you're athletic and you're good at track and field, you look forward to that. That's your breather. That's your break from, I take a little break from studying. I'm going to be competing. That's your break. And then, look, the government should take this seriously. And why I say so is because when you look at athletics and you look at track and field, what stands out to you? The African athlete. All right. The African
mhm.
athlete really stands out. Not saying that they're not other athletes from other ethnic groups
Yep.
that does well. Yes, they do. But when you look at it from a volume perspective, track and field, it is the African Guyanese that dominates. Okay? And to further take that away from them, um, I gotta say, it's a travesty to me. It's a stereotype.
It's a
Um,
spin.
Yes, yes, and it's not something that is done by chance, but it is a strategy. Okay,
Mhm,
it's a
mhm,
strategy. That's why the
mhm,
African Guyanese communities continue to fall because there's not a whole lot for the
mhm,
children to do. Back in the days, I knew when they used to have training, track and field training in the national park, Eastern Rockets with Brian Innes, and then you had a man used to be out at Camp Ghana, another trainer for track and field, Mr. Smith, and you had all these different people that was training. The government, I don't know if they even put subsidies in place for these coaches, to reward them or anything, because I don't believe that would exist because this is not a caring government, right?
Thank
So
you.
therefore,
Mhm.
we could have Olympians in Guyana. We can have big
We
time
could.
Olympians, just the way that Jamaica and Trinidad, and to some extent, the islands, of course. St. Lucia had the last Olympic champion female, and even Barbados. But
Mhm,
we cannot, we haven't shown the ability from a government perspective to able to maintain and provide the necessary resources for our athletes. So therefore, they are going to underperform just because of lack of resources. And look, I will say this in closing. I encourage all Guyanese, okay? Please, we have all these parties out there. All right. I'm going to just say to you guys, do your reading. All right. Study the PPP. Look and analyze the PPP for the last 5 years. And then for the last few months, since they would have placed themselves back in power, because I'm not going to say that the PPP won power. They would have placed themselves back there and they allocated whatever seats they wanted to allocate to the other parties. But I encourage you to look at what the PPP would have done for the last 5 years. Okay, put everything into context. Okay, the last 5 years that we have been the fastest growing economy, all that you guys would have gotten as a cash distribution is $100,000.
Mhm.
That's all you've gotten in 5 years. Now they promise another one where they're saying that you guys have to register and have bank accounts. Honorable MP, it is too late for you to be telling all Guyanese that they should have bank accounts. You want them to have bank accounts, then make the cash distribution $110,000. The $10,000 is for them to open an account, and that $10,000 stays in the account to keep it active, and the bank must not be able to put any penalties on that $10,000. It must remain there all the time until the next distribution. If that is what you want to do, if you want everybody to have a bank account, because we have to remember when people go to get a bank account, there are criterias, okay? And not everybody can fulfill those criterias and get the needed documentation to have a bank account. And that have to be understood. So now what you're doing here, right? Some people are going to be sidelined, right? And what's going to happen with that cash grant money that was allocated for them? Because you allocated based on the amount of adults in the country. What is going to happen to that money? Is it going to go into the pocket of the ministers of the PPP, friends, family, and favorites?
Well, all of that.
So
All of that.
there's a lot to unpack, MP. But I'm going to stop here and rest my case here. And look, I look forward to coming back and joining you here at any point.
Thank
It
you
was
so
a pleasure being here.
It was a pleasure having you here. And Guyanese citizens, we just want to close by saying, if and when local government elections are called, please ensure that you do the right thing. Please ensure that you vote for the coalition, because that's the party that will ensure that you in Guyana have a say at your local, at your constituents in the local areas. You would be able to decide what should happen in your community, what should happen in your town. Be wise. Don't be carried away by gold bricks, because when it rains, then the gold plate or the gold paint will be washed off. So stay well, be careful on the roads, and let's remember that we are one people, one nation, one destiny. Take care. We love you, and God bless you.